It should come as no surprise that our planet is on the verge of a climate disaster. As a species, we humans have become increasingly dependent on fossil fuels and are emitting the resulting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere on the magnitude of tens of billions of tons per year. While a large amount of that carbon is taken by plants through photosynthesis, an increasing amount, approximately 2.6 billion tons, is being absorbed by the ocean every year. CO2 mixing with water produces carbonic acid, a substance that is corrosive and dangerous to many organisms that depend upon calcium-based shells. Ocean acidification, along with rising sea temperatures, are putting several species at risk of local, regional, and even global extinction. Luckily, we can look again to the ocean for a solution to help mitigate these threats. While at first sight, kelp may seem like an underwhelming candidate to help stop our current ocean crisis, it has a very important role to play. Globally, there are about 30 known species of kelp that range in all shapes and sizes, although for simplicity purposes, we will mainly be looking at sugar kelp as a prime candidate due to its promising potential in several areas. Diving in even further to look at our home in the Pacific Northwest, this species tends to grow in the shallow, protected seas around our coasts at depths of up to 30 meters. Sugar kelp also provides habitat and refuge for entire ecosystems of fish and invertebrates, making kelp an even more critical species to the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, due to rising sea temperatures, increased fishing, which allows grazing species to explode, increased nutrient pollution, and increased sediment effects, kelp forests are decreasing in size or disappearing altogether in the Pacific Northwest at an alarming rate. Something must be done soon in order to stem this decline, and oddly enough, kelp may be the solution.
Ways kelp can help ocean acidification and local marine ecosystems. Kelp serves as one of the best extractors to pull out the carbon and nitrogen out of the sea. As an algae, not a plant, it will need carbon dioxide to go through photosynthesis. Therefore, the more carbon dioxide kelp absorbs for growing, the less carbon dioxide in the ocean, resulting in a decreased carbonate concentration in the ocean, which helps to restore the neutral environment of the marine ecosystem. On the other hand, kelp can also act as a nutrient bioextractor that absorbs the excess nitrogen due to the uses of fertilizers in the ocean and alleviates the overnutrition of the seawater. In the long run, the reduction of excess nutrients in the seawater may also help to decrease the carbon dioxide released by the local marine organisms, preventing plankton from overpopulation, which creates a better marine environment for other marine organisms. In addition to that, the growth of kelp also serves as a food resource for local marine organisms like crabs. Ways kelp can boost the local economies. Besides the benefits that kelp offered as a bioextractor that maintain the homeostasis of the marine ecosystem, it also has various economic benefits that are not neglectable. Given the fact that kelp is composed of a great amount of carbon and nitrogen removed from the ocean, it is the best resource for land agriculture. They could also serve as a natural fertilizer that brings the nutrients that are lost due to the uses of chemical fertilizers back to the soil and promote soil health. Plus, the kelp byproduct is a great environment for mushroom to grow, creating secondary economic benefits that boost the local economy. Most importantly, kelp, as a culturally cherished product, can be a food resource for many populations, which is also a way of treating the extracted ocean carbon and nitrogen. In all, kelp plays an important role in many places of the local food system, as well as the local marine ecosystem, and the local benefits of the positive externalities are not measurable.
An interesting aspect of kelp cultivation that we learned about is in its importance in local food systems and local marine ecosystems. Kelp's ability to be used as both food and fertilizer also make it a versatile and sustainable means for agriculture in the future. The cross-ecosystem connection, as Professor Wheat calls it, describes the process of nutrient recycling on a farm that bears its fruit in different aspects of the food system. For instance, while kelp is grown in the water to reduce ocean acidification and improve the quality of marine life, It can also be harvested for consumption and even be used to increase the productivity of farm systems as well. Not to mention, efforts are being made to also use it to make biodegradable items such as straws and water containers. The possibilities are endless when it comes to kelp, and we should keep an eye out for more innovative ways to utilize it that will improve the health of our current environment. Conversion into biofuel is another method that allows kelp's versatility to shine. With increasing realization of the limited resources and unsustainability of fossil fuels, researchers are looking into unique and alternative resources for transportation fuels. That being said, kelp is a huge frontrunner for being converted into liquid transportation fuel because of how easy it is to grow, its potential to counteract ocean acidification, and overall its positive impact on the environment. Kelps are transformed into biofuel by a process called thermochemical liquefaction, which is essentially the kelp drying process that washes the salt away and then uses a high temperature and high pressure conversion process to turn it into bio-oil. Although research is still being conducted to figure out how to decrease the amount of energy that is expended in this part of the conversion process, the potential economic and environmental benefits of macroalgae cultivation is promising.
One way to maximize all these benefits of kelp is through kelp aquaculture, also known as kelp farming. Kelp farming involves raising young microscopic kelp on lines in a lab, then planting the lines by laying them out in beds along shorelines about 30 meters deep and marking the lines with buoys. Planting needs to be done in winter before the low tides move from night to day, and harvesting can be done in summer when the kelp is tall and the blades are full. Establishing a kelp farm is not an easy process. Several jurisdictions monitor the waterways of Puget Sound, which leads to an extensive permitting process before one can even dream about hauling in their first harvest. One make-or-break factor in this process is community support. Luckily, there are many ways to help promote kelp aquaculture in a community. A good place to start is by developing relationships with local community leaders to gain their support and to develop social license. Social licensing is where the local communities accept and approve of the business you want to carry out in their area. It requires the investment of personal time spent with local leaders and tribal elders, sharing information and finding out what's important to the people whose lives and ecosystems you'll be impacting. Educating stakeholders on the process of kelp farming, its pros, cons, and costs is important. This should include working with them on how you'll run your farm and finding ways to create the least amount of negative impacts. Ask what you can do to create positive impacts, like hiring from within the community, incorporating culturally significant practices into your process, and providing ecosystem services to the area. Being respectful and transparent is essential to building social license. Remember that you're not just planting a crop in the water, you're moving into an area that's shared with people who call that shoreline home. It's important to include the community's cultural values, economics, and politics in your planning when you get started. Kelp aquaculture is becoming a promising avenue to generate sustainable revenue while providing ecosystem services to the regional and global community. As we've seen, kelp provides a local, sustainable, and ecologically friendly input for the production of biofuel. It can be used as a low-cost, nutrient-rich fertilizer for the farming and agriculture industries, as well as a base component in many common household items. A local supply of kelp can help reduce the overall cost of production for these items, as well as reducing their carbon footprint. Additionally, kelp helps other marine species flourish in several ways. It acts as a food source, breeding grounds, and place of refuge for many species of marine organisms. Finally, kelp has a major role to play in the cleansing of our waters from excess carbon and nitrogen, both of which cause harm to marine ecosystems in large amounts. With these benefits and more, it's easy to see why kelp farming is quickly becoming a common practice in communities throughout the world. Hopefully, its potential can be realized right here in the Pacific Northwest.